No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me, as always, the Wellington to my Napoleon, Vespacian. There's a lot of
Wow, that's a good one. Hi, everybody.
that was
I'm
courtesy.
your arch enemy.
That was courtesy of Caps. He chose that one.
There we go. I like that.
Everyone keeps asking us. It seems like the really popular thing for us to do these little blurbs at the beginning of our bat reps is to talk a little bits of strategy in the game. And I thought actually this is a request from the comments. We should just briefly talk about one of the secondary objectives and how you approach that. I think the first one, I think it's the most common, is hold the center, or what's the actual name for hold the center?
Hold the ground, right?
Hold the ground. Hold the ground is at the end of the game, the most scoring units within 6 inches of the center of the board. No, I'm sorry. Every turn, I should know this. I play this game all the time. Every turn after the first, at the end of the whole turn, the most scoring units within 6 inches of the center gets 1 token, so a max of 5 tokens. Person with the most tokens at the end of the game wins the secondary objective. When you're approaching this, me as a beast herd player, when I'm approaching this, I want to get right up there on it. I want to get up because I want to turn 2 or turn 3. I want to pick up those tokens. And then if I have a 2 token lead and I'm controlling the center of the board, then I keep pushing into the rest of his army, whoever I'm facing, to kill, because that's what beast herds do. And then I can win the secondary, usually, even if he gets 1 turn of that token up. If I get turn 2 and turn 3, I feel very confident. That's my opinion when I'm playing an aggressive beast herds army. What's your view on the secondary?
Yeah, taking a step back to the list development stage, there's basically there's 3, essentially, 4 objectives that all have similar case to hold the ground, which is secure, spoils, hold, and king, right? Where basically there's a sort of a central or a specific locational focus that you have, where there's going to be a sort of an aggregation of force, right, to hold the objective. And so I like to think about what unit is going to be my sort of hold the ground unit in my list building, right? Because I think that I've tried to play lists that are like purely MSU that rely on lots of fast mobile types of scoring, and I think they suffer in those 4 objectives, which, if you're suffering in 4 out of 6 objectives, like how do you win objectives, right? So
that's an uphill
so
battle.
I'd like to start there. I liked your point about breaking it up into phases. I've been watching some battle reports recently where sort of their tactic is early or late win on hold, right? And I hadn't, in my kind of thought process, I hadn't thought about breaking it down like that. I just sort of thought about, how do I maintain a dominant position on it in general, right? And I like your idea of breaking it up into phases. I think that hold is interesting because you can sort of predict your opponent's deployment. So I think there's a lot of great opportunities for counter deployment and hold. There's, especially if you're facing a more blocky force and you are more mobile, you can take opportunities to kind of work the flanks, right?
I agree, yeah.
And I think that using your example, I think there's some opportunities to kind of make some smart sacrifices, not necessarily in combat, but to get scoring units to sort of stop your opponent from getting an early advantage and then pressing a longer term advantage. I think it's interesting our different play styles of armies recently are just kind of playing into how we think about this this objective, right? But yeah, I kind of think about it as like, how do you play the long game? How do you prevent early leads and ensure late wins on hold is kind of the way that I've been thinking about it. So the sort of diametric opposite of you.
Another question about hold the ground secondary objective is, I feel like a lot of people, when they think about it, they want a big chunky anvil unit to be sitting on there. Do you usually go for the big chunky anvil on there, or do you feel better with having fast moving strikers / monsters putting pressure in certain spots and then throwing up like a 5-man lancer unit on there?
I think that I think actually you need not just an anvil, because actually if you push up and then they go into the anvil, even if you stick for a long time, they can still win, right? Because they're sitting on it too, essentially, right? Yep. So I think you need the right combination of sustainability and force projection, right? So you want to push them off of it in as much of a way as you want to stay on it, right? So I think that you want something that kind of threatens that. Not only do they not want to get stuck on it, but they don't even want to go into it at all, is kind of the best case scenario, which obviously is hard to develop a weapon that can do that in every game, but I like to think about it that way.
I like all those thoughts. Hey, looking forward in future videos, we're going to do the rest of the secondary objectives, just general tactical thoughts about it. Let me know what you think in the comments, hit us up, but let's get on to the battle report. Let's see here. Bam. So we already went over my round 4. 3? Yeah, because I still have the hangover from those 2 giants being blown out by freaking Dread Elf Spears. Okay, so we're on to your round 3. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
We're still on Encircle King of the Hill. You're playing Sylvan Elves, and you get paired into another KOE list. This is Mike. I'm really not familiar with Mike. Who is this opponent?
Mike's a Canadian guy. I'm forgetting. I want to say he's from Calgary. I think that's right. And he came on down with another guy, Kevin Hawk.
I remember
from
now.
Calgary. Yeah, really nice guy, and a beautiful army. I think I got a couple of pictures that should help showcase that. I want to give Mike one big shout out before the game. Apparently a fan of the channel, and he reminded me to take pictures. So this is my record-breaking number of pictures.
This is the new plan. Get your opponents to be fans of the channel, and they'll remind you to take pictures, so you don't have to remind yourself. This is perfect.
Exactly. Help me help you.
If you are interested in Aaron's list, please click the link that's right above my head. It is from the round 1 video where we go into his list in a little more detail. Or you can click the link in the description, which is take you to the podcast called Mid-Table Menaces, which are the Pacific Northwest guys doing their own podcast thing. They did a list review. Check that out. But let's look at Mike's list. KOE, you can go ahead and go through it.
Yeah, so he's got the 2 Hippo Lords. The first one with Shieldbreaker, Prayer Etched, and Dragonfire Gem, Sainted, which is all the extra attacks and stats, and Forbearance, which I don't actually remember particularly well. The other one is BSB. With a Tristan, so this is a duelist guy, so he's super high AP, and you can't refuse duels if I recall correctly. And then he's got the dreaded KOE Druidism Master with an extra channel and Van Braces, big unit of feudals, 2 units of small feudals, big unit of quests with Rending, big unit of Pegasus Knights, and 2 Chaffee Yeoman Outriders. So I like some aspects of this list. I don't love the Duke builds. I think that there are better builds, although acknowledge that they're probably like, 75 to 100 points cheaper than the top tier build. So
Yeah.
he was able to fit some things in. Druidism is always such a pain to deal with KOE, right? So I wasn't looking forward to that. But I felt I liked. I think if you switch over to my
Yeah.
rating, I liked. I think the Duke builds drive this matchup for my list, and the fact is that I think the Avatar can beat these lords. They don't have divine, they don't have multi wounds, right? So I think that's a grind I can win,
Yeah.
which I like. And he's got no ranged, which means, unlike my last KOE opponent, I can play the long game. And yeah, I was, I felt like this was going to be heavily terrain dependent because King of the Hill is a challenging one. So yeah, I was looking forward to the match.
All right, interesting. Yeah, I think the two
What do you
Dukes
think?
are a little scary, but I think you're right. Now that I think about it, I think the Avatar can really take either of them, right?
Yeah, I think so. There definitely are Duke builds that he can't, but either of these guys, he's wounding on twos. He's AP4, so he's usually going through all or most of their armor, and then they'll get that, the 5-up or 4-up Aegis, right? So I think over the long arc, whereas they struggle to wound him, right? So over the long arc, I think that that he grinds him out.
Okay. I like it. So here we go. This image is marked deployment and Vanguard.
Yeah. So if I recall, do you mind flipping to the next one? I think I got first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Sorry. So Mike picked sides, and he actually gave me this side, and I think that was a little bit of a mistake because of what it allowed me to do with the terrain. I was able to pick that forest on the right hand side as my terrain feature, and I'll tell you. When I picked Sylvan Elves, I actually made a comment to a buddy. I was like, I can't wait to play King of the Hill and be able to move my forest. I can pick it the terrain feature. So you'll see I put that tactic to good employ here. So I guess I guess what I was thinking was I really wanted to avoid big combats early, let my shooting power, put pressure on him. And so I picked the forest. Also, I liked that the fact that there was an impassable and a ruins over on his side meant that if he tried to deploy across from my terrain feature, it would bottle him up, cause him DTs, just kind of, make his advance more complicated, right? So I also used my deception banner trick here because I dropped for first. And initially I had the archers over in that forest, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and so then when I was able to scout, I moved them, right? And so what you've got is you've got 2 Heath Hunter units over on the right, going right to left. The Ancient next to the Treekin, and then you've got my Geagles, the archers with the Druid behind, the Avatar up front, basically just zoning where he could go. Unit of Sentinels, other unit of Heath Hunters, the Pathfinders up on the hill, and the other unit of Sentinels on the left.
Excellent. And what about him?
He counter dropped, and I think overall I thought his deployment was pretty good. He has the Pegasus Knights. I'll start from now going back the other direction. Pegasus Knights, the big quests with his damsel in it, if I recall correctly. The guy behind the house is his BSB. The 2 yeomen up front, and then a little hard to see, but his lord, his general. Yeah, there you go. His general, the big feudals, and then the 2 units of little feudals. And he picked the ruins, so that ruins that's right in front of him there, which I think was probably the right. Well, I guess he picked first, so that was the that was an interesting call. I think that he he potentially maybe didn't see the concept of me bottling him up over on that right hand side. Maybe it would have been better to do the hill or the water feature, something like that, as his choice. But hard to say. I countered against it, right? So hopefully my plan worked well.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This is top of one movement.
Yeah. So basically, I bring the two Tree Fathers over. I want to use their charge ranges and threats to just prevent him from moving up too aggressively, and giving myself time for my shooting to take effect. And what I've basically done is I've put almost all of my shooting focused on the quests, right? If those who remember my last game and how the quests basically single-handedly almost broke my entire army, I couldn't let that happen.
I just feel like I don't know if that's the right strategy, because like just so many of those shots are being taken up or being deflected by armor and their Aegis save, right?
Yeah, I think the problem is that they're his Pegasus are just way out of the equation right now. So just from a timing perspective, I have more time to deal with them, and his the feudals just after the charge just don't have the damage output. So I wasn't I was hoping to tie them up on a Tree Father of one sort or the other, or the Treekin. It was really the quests that were going to be the sort of make or break the game, right? So
yeah,
I just basically hoped for better dice this time, and did that.
Yeah. All right. This
and
is
I think
bottom one movement.
So this is his movement. So zoom in, because you can see that I got rewarded for taking a bit of a riskier play, because in turn one I take off 4 quests. That's
a good return right there, yeah.
Yeah, so I was really, really happy with that. And basically, now you can see his moves. He takes an aggressive move with the Pegasus Knights and his Lord Duke, right? So he's really trying to put pressure on, which I think is the right move for his list. I was a little, initially I was like, ooh, do I put the Tree Father Ancient into that Duke?
Before we move forward, I just want to can we look at these models really quick?
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
I think I have a better picture later, where I get a little bit closer to him. But yeah, so those are that Mirsha, Kingdom of Mercia, Lost Kingdom line. If I was going to play a KOE army, I would 100% get that line. The models are gorgeous, and they're also not completely typical. They've got this kind of, the sort of forgetting the name of what the mythical beast is, but that one that's sort of like a mix of a flying antlered lion kind of a thing.
It's a
really
lot
neat.
all in one. Yeah, that's cool.
Anyway, so really, you'll see a better picture later. So he comes forward. He put, I think I'm thinking about that Duke and the Avatar, because he gave me a charge there, but he's also built up lots of counter charges. I think he gave my Heath Hunters on the right a little bit too much respect with his feudal knights. He was keeping the charge distances long there, and I just think I don't think that goes super well for me. But I was happy to have him stay back. And that was and then he also comes up and chaffs. That's right. Now I'm seeing it. I couldn't charge the Avatar into the Duke because he chaffed me with those guys. Yeah.
That's a smart move.
Anyway,
putting pressure with the Duke and then not giving you the counter charge with the Avatar. Can you counter charge with the Ancient?
Maybe, but I think that the Ancient just doesn't have the hitting power. So
exactly.
I think that's probably why I don't end up doing it. But maybe he even did block it. Yeah. But anyways, I got punished for blocking up all my threats in one spot, right? So it's fair. But I need to get the chaff out anyway. So.
All right, so we're on to top of 2 movement, and it looks like everything's all over the place.
Yeah, so basically, I scatter from the Peg Knights. You know, all of my elite archers and the heath hunters over on the left all move out of line of sight successfully.
Oof. Oof.
My big archer unit pulls back to make an impossible charge. And at this point, I start having to split my shooting, right? So now that his Pegasus Knights have come out to play, I can't just focus on the quest. So there's that. And then I take the charge of the Treekin into the yeoman, pull my Tree Fathers back to prevent him from doing the same thing again. And I pull all of my small units on the right back, basically everything out of line of sight or out of charge range, right? So playing the long game there.
But you're basically giving both Dukes a easy charge into your Treekin.
Yeah, with a counter charge from the Avatar, right? I was, there's no way he kills that VSB in one turn. And so then I've got the counter charge that I wanted, right? So
True.
At least that was my thinking.
Let's see how it goes. This is marked top of 2 magic phase.
So, wow, look at me getting a picture that is not just a movement picture.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. I took this because I had a ludicrous phase here, and that made be part of why Mike didn't take the charge into the Treekin. So I think if you look at it, I got both scrying on the Treekin and then a bubbled Stars Align, or maybe vice versa.
Damn.
Yeah, it looks like bubbled. So basically I just diced Mike on this, and I thought it was worth taking a picture. And now I think maybe I don't have a better picture of his models. I thought one of them was in here, but I was wrong.
We'll come back and look at them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a good magic phase, and he responds by not charging the Treekin.
So there's a big story here that we need to pay a little bit of attention to. So I take off the yeoman. That's big, but the bigger story is, where did those questing knights go?
Oh, okay, that's a very good question. What happened to the questing knights?
You can just barely see them, actually. If you zoom in next to that house, there is a questing knight there.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so I had a big phase against those questing knights. All of my shooting, basically, I think except for one sentinel unit, went into them again. And early in I think maybe the Pathfinders, one of the units that shot first did an epic amount of damage. He just rolled real bad, and at that point he was down to like a couple of knights in the damsel, and I was like, if I can get this damsel in top of 2, this game is over. Right? So I had actually been planning to put the archers into the Pegasus Knights because they were a closer threat, but I was like, I gotta swing big. So I put everything else into that unit that I can, and I managed to get it down to 1 questing knight and 1 wound left on the damsel.
Oh.
Which anybody who's played a KoE Druidism Master before knows that's you might as well be a million miles away at that point.
Yeah, true.
But admittedly, I overperformed with that early shooting, so I can't complain. And honestly, having the questing knights be a non-threat is a huge win.
And they're on the other side of the house because they failed a panic check?
No, he split the damsel, and the single remaining guy became a lone model, and then he ran him around the house to protect him.
Oh.
Yeah, and the damsel bails out into the big feudals, right?
Okay.
So I will be hard pressed to get a hold of her again. But again, neutering that questing knight unit is a victory in and of itself. So he goes once again an aggressive move, and this might be a better picture for his Kingdom of Mercia. Yeah, so I think that actually might be an AOS.
Yeah, I think that's
mount.
an AOS mount. Yeah. And then this one over
really
here.
Cool. And then this one is the Kingdom of Mercia one that you can see is like this wolf stag flying guy. It's really cool.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so I made a little bit of a mistake here. I think I could have angled the avatar better, like maybe pulled him back a little bit so that he couldn't get out of his line of sight with that lord over on the right.
Mm.
I can't remember exactly the details, but I was a little disappointed with that. So so he kind of comes up for a pincher move with the two lords, and he just pushes the Pegasus Knights up as far as they'll go, right? Basically making it impossible for my archers to withdraw. And then beyond that, he makes the move with the questing knight and the damsel, and he kind of, if I back up, he shuffles up. I think he's basically taking a very conservative look of keeping me off of his objective, which is the ruins, right? So
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting. This is marked of top of 3 movement.
Yeah. So I basically I do a few things. I bring all of my elite archers back to shoot at the Pegasus Knights, and I pull my archers back a little bit, and I continue the shuffle backwards on the right, and then I am able to get my Treefather Ancient out of arc and range of his two lords, and I take advantage of the fact that his lords are out of the picture to push up into his objective, right? So my goal is to get the Treekin into his objective. I also, and this ends up being important later, you can see that my Heath Hunters that were all the way over on the left-hand side of my deployment have been making the long end run and now are up there. Yeah, exactly. Which, is something as a second option to play into his objective for the late game, right?
Yep. Yeah. Now,
so
I see.
is
this your wizard here in the forest?
It is, yeah. So, unfortunately, my wizard failed her rerollable 8 March check, and I had originally hoped to just bail, because he has no shooting, basically. I originally hoped to just bail her out of that archer unit and get her to safety, but unfortunately, with the failed March check, she was not able to get out of the arc of his lords, and so she's now just stuck there, essentially.
Oh goodness! Oh goodness! Okay.
Yeah, this was a critical phase of the battle, and that March check was a real shame, but it happens, as we've seen apparently in every game.
All right. This is bottom 3 movement.
Okay, so head on back and maybe just take a quick look at this one. So this is I guess all the bad luck my shooting had in game 2 has completely changed, because in this turn I got the Pegasus unit, and I had not anticipated or thought that this would happen, but I did enough damage, and it so happened that the unit that did the bit that bumped him up over 25% was that Sentinel unit in the middle of the table, and then he failed a re-rollable 8 and ran off the board.
No! Oh no!
Yeah.
That's painful. That is so painful. Wow.
So two big re-rollable 8s. I think his was a little bigger than mine, but yeah, it was rough. So now let's head over here.
So yeah, these Peg Knights are off the board, off the left here.
Yeah, they're gone. He's been diligently regrowing questing knights up above, and so I think he's now up to like 3 or something like that. And then I'm able to capitalize on, I think, what was a big mistake from my opponent. So he gets excited about the fact that my druid is out there in the middle, and he charges with his BSB.
Yeah, the guy in the white mount. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was an opportunity to flee and get quite far away just because of the way she would have bounced. But then she rolls like a 2 or a 3 for her flee and doesn't move very far. and he decides that that's worth it, and so he sticks it. He decides to continue with that charge with the BSB. I think that this was a mistake, and you'll see why. He then charges his other Duke, which was over on the right, the stag wolf one, into my archers, and I was thrilled when he did that because I have a good flee path there, right? And I managed to roll kind of high, and I think he was already a fair distance away, and so it ends up being like I think he would have needed like a 10 or an 11 on the dice to catch them.
Yeah.
And so that was and he does it, as you can see. So I think the better charging sequence for Mike would have been to put the BSB into the archers. I mean, a single druid running around is probably going to die eventually anyways, right?
Yeah, true.
And even though it's a big deal, getting rid of those archers is definitely a bigger deal, right? And I'm on, a rerollable 7 with the archers. When that BSB goes in, I don't have the option to flee because where they were positioned. I think that there was sort of like the saw red on getting rid of that druid mage, and
it's a tempting target for sure, but
I mean, I don't doubt it. My phase was definitely a bit challenging after that because I only had 2 spells from then on. But I think long game wise, that would have been a better move. And so let's see here. So what else goes on? Oh, right. So he takes the big charge of the feudals and one of the little feudals into the treekin. Right
there.
Yeah. Or thicket beast, excuse me. And so I think he had to do this because of my aggressive move, right? He needs to keep me out of that ruins. And I'm not likely to break that unit, right? So this gives him time to try to bring the lords around, essentially. So there you go. So that was his turn. He, as you can see, kills a thicket, and I kill 1 or 2, and we stick, right?
Okay. And this next one is marked end of game. So what happens?
Yeah, so I think we did, because we were then engaged in multiple combats and things got a little bit more hectic. So we missed a picture or 2 here. Essentially, over on the left, not as big of an impact. The archers rally, right? So that preserves a bunch of points there. I've got my archers in a good position to shoot at random stuff. I manage, as you can see, to take off the quests eventually. Even though he's been regrowing them, I'm also just pouring like every shot into them because I think it's like 700 points, right?
Yeah, it's worth it.
So I managed to take them off eventually. The thicket and feudal combat just goes on forever. Basically, I used my Tree Father Ancient as a gigantic screen to prevent him from getting one of his lords that could see into combat, and the other one was looking at the archers, right? So the wrong direction. Right. So I screen one with the Tree Father Ancient to prevent him from getting into combat. The other one has to remaneuver. But he was in a risky spot because I charged that if you go back 1, the Avatar helps take off that little unit of feudals that was next to that was next to it. And so, but I stuck on them the first round because he had a champ, and so I think his other lord wasn't able to reposition where he wanted to because he was worried the Avatar would break the feudal unit in his turn and then charge, right? So it forced him to be a little bit cagier there, and then I'm able to use the Avatar to clean up the other little unit of feudals.
Yeah, I see you over here,
after they flee. And as you can see, I had just had the movement to get those Heath Hunters around the house in the long end run for the turns 5 or 6, whatever it was, toe into the objective, right? And you can also see that pretty much every turn that I possibly could, I kept moving my objective forest further and further away.
It has floated all the way back to here.
Yeah, I think it was originally somewhere around where his big white BSB guy
somewhere
was.
over here.
So that just was like boom, boom, boom. So I like that mechanic was really cool and powerful for this game. And the thicket beasts and the big feudal unit just stick there for the rest of the game. I think I basically just got one or the other div buff on them for the rest of the game to keep them around. And yeah, and he just kept regrowing guys, and we just sat there. So I think this is how it ended up.
Yeah. Okay. So he's still got both of his dukes. You still have both of your tree fathers. You still had the big block, but you took off the questing knights, which is a big chunk of points. All right. Okay.
Pegasus Knight.
Oh, and the Peg Knights. Thank you. And you end up with a 16. And you 13 on points, but you got the secondary also, right?
Yeah, correct. So 13 on points and an objective win. I mean, he got my Druid General, which is like 500 points all in. So that was a decent get. And I think that actually might have been it, right? So this is where getting that archer unit, would have been big. That's another 500 points, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he just didn't have, after the questings got hurt so bad, he just didn't have a way to prevent that end run. Right? He needed all of his units facing forward to prevent me from rushing him. Mm-hmm. And so I had that play on the objective that I was able to take. But you can also see that my Heath Hunters in the bottom right could have made an aggressive move. I probably would have had to sacrifice the Avatar, but they could have made an aggressive move to toe up as well, right? So I had a couple of different plays in the objective. Yeah.
This is a really interesting bet. Your shooting did just a ton of heavy lifting in this game. Do you think you overproduced with shooting in this game, or are Sylvan Elves this good at shooting?
I think that that one turn I would say the one turn from the Pathfinders overproduced. I mean, I think I killed like 3 or 4 questing knights with short range shots from the Pathfinders. I think I actually probably rolled okay. He just rolled crap for his armor saves, right? Like failed like 4 4 up saves kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that one volley from that one unit moved the needle in a big way. I think the rest of the damage, like on the Pegasus Knights and the rest of the game against the Quest, was pretty average, I would say. Some turns good, some turns bad, I would say.
All right, interesting. So your first 2 games were wins, so you got 3 wins in a row, right? You're sitting pretty well.
No, it was a win draw.
It was win. Win, tie, win, yeah. So you're looking pretty good. I was on top table this round, and I dropped down. So we'll see where round 4 takes us. If anyone's still watching, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.